It's gonna be a great night tonight.
We're gonna buy the kneecap off.
Do what it do.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Filthy Football Casuals podcast. I'm your co-host Carl. We got John and Tom in the house as always. Boys, happy league new year, free agency.
Oh, it is.
Football Casual
to
season
us.
3.
Yes,
Yes, season 3.
We're still here.
Season 3.
We made it. Wow, it's been a ride. It's been a fun one.
Can't be stopped. We have to. So I feel like we've got to come up with like a theme. I don't know what theme year 1 would be. I feel like year 2 was football justice.
Kind of was.
We might not know the theme until we get into some more action too.
So currently, yes, undisclosed theme, but we'll have to think about what that.
Let's not wait until Tomlin has a bump in the road
Yeah.
and gives us another legendary quote. Because he will. The man will.
That's
we know
right.
that.
That's a guarantee.
We gotta come up with our own brand in the meantime.
Yeah. I like it. It'll happen organically.
That's right. Crazy week. Rodgers news aside, league meeting aside, making headlines for all the wrong reasons. But
Classic.
yeah, a lot of big names, a lot of people finding new homes, a lot of excitement, I think, around the league. Anything kind of blow your socks off? Like something crazy happened? Maybe not your Steelers or Niners. I'm sure we'll get into that.
Real quick, before I guess high level, what are your guys' thoughts on the whole legal tampering window? Do you have any like any because that's also been kind of a talk for the last couple days, and just curious if you guys have any.
So I remember before the league implemented this tampering window, and the same shit happened. No matter what. All the shit got leaked. All the deals came out a few days ahead of time because all the agents are talking. Like it's no secret. So like, I feel like the league tried to kind of corral it and contain it, and like, oh yeah, here's this window, and then no one respects it. And
Yeah.
Sure, because I mean it's business, right? Like that's
Right. It's not like a hard window either. There's like some rules about like if you're released and certain things like that, then you can talk about it. So it's like, what even are we doing? Like, it's weird.
I guess like, and the reason why I ask is because like a lot of the quote unquote free agent moves, a lot of them, like, a lot of the bigger ones were, are led up to, like, it's not like they happen
Right.
like during the tampering period. They were obviously already hammered out, and then
the window opens and it's immediate. Like, the name's still
wow.
wrong.
So
Yeah.
I don't know what your guys' thoughts are. I mean, I honestly like I don't mind the idea of them throwing that tampering that thing out there just so that we have 2 days of letting things kind of trickle in as opposed to you just getting slammed in the face with it. Like I'm fine with it being basically an extension of when free agency actually starts. And again, I kind of like you're saying, I don't think anything can really these guys are going to talk. They are going to try to find the teams and the players both want to spend as much time possible trying to get the best deal that they can. I mean, that's what it is. And I think I respect that, right? I guess again, it is a business. So, I hope that we continue kind of this, I don't mind 3 days of just what is going to what am I going to hear next? That does not bother me one bit. Because even it can change. Who was it that the guy left? Where was it? The Chargers to go to Dallas, even though he apparently signed during the tampering period.
Oh, that's the guy that
Kendricks, right?
Yeah, Kendricks.
Yeah.
The Niners were
Yeah.
supposed to apparently sign him, but
Did sign
apparently
him,
that didn't.
So
That didn't happen.
Yeah. So anyway, so I do like the fact that there is, still, you can still get surprised by things of that nature happening. So, yeah, I don't know. I've heard some chatter about people being like, well, it's they obviously that they are tampering with but it's like, come on, like let's not like, I don't know. I don't really want. Yeah.
Is it like a situation where like an agent calls up a GM or a scout or whatever and says, "Hey, what would you pay for a 26-year-old running back that wears the color blue?" Thoughts? Like you just do everything but say the player's name, and then you go, "I'm Drew Rosenhaus," and you look at who he represents. And
Yeah.
you go, oh, no.
Yeah, they know each other well, and yeah, I think like, what would they do? Extend the window or like come down with harsher penalties on people who are like going around the rules or anything? Like, no, it's a huge media event. I think honestly, shout out that it kind of kicks off on Monday, so you get something to refresh all through the work week. It works out real well.
All you have to do is look at the few guys around the league that don't have agents and see how quickly they get deals done when this whole tampering thing ends up, and it's almost always way slower for those guys than it is for guys with agents.
Certainly checks out, makes sense, but that's too funny. Seen some fair share of agentless negotiated contracts the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I don't know what I would like to see, right? So you know how like during the draft, like you get like videos into the war room of like people making calls and wheeling and dealing. Show me that for the free agent like tampering period opening up. Where's that live feed of John Lynch like frantically calling everybody?
Kingsbury in his ridiculous mansion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jerry Jones in the Death Star making phone calls.
Yeah, right. Don't give him ideas. I'm sure Peyton Manning and his cronies will get right on it. Another show for ESPN coming out 2025.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Back to free agent news though. I'm curious. Any crazy signings? Anything that really, I don't know, made your eyes go wide?
I don't think anything too surprising. I mean, there are some running backs that I think got paid way more than I expected them to get paid.
That's where I was going.
But I'm happy for them. Yep. They deserve to be paid. Don't get me wrong, but I wasn't expecting teams to actually shell out the cash.
Yeah, I mean, again, right, Barkley signing with the Eagles for 3 years, $37.75 million, and then again, Josh Jacobs with the Green Bay Packers, 4 years, $48 million. So
yeah, that's CMC money right there. That's like that 12 plus average.
That is pretty good. Glad to see. Interesting enough, though, right? Like we were talking last week about who we would kind of build around, and the league thought otherwise, right?
Yep.
Swift does sign with the Bears for 3 years, $24 million. So
it's a good payday for him, honestly.
Significantly, I guess, like underpaid for. I say underpaid compared to what some of these other these other top guys kind of looked at. But again, yeah. Speaking of running backs, Derrick Henry signing with Baltimore really makes me sad. Only because like I have to root against him like literally every week, and that's heartbreaking. That's unfortunate.
Understandable. Hey, think about their cap situation. I mean, he's a great player. He's fun to watch, but giving him all that money, questionable.
True, very questionable.
I mean, $8 million a year, yeah, for a 31-year-old running back. I mean, I know he's the king, but.
Yeah,
I guess $8 million is not all that much in the grand scheme of things. I retract that.
$8 million's about what all the guys not named Barkley and Jacob are getting. That seems to be right around where everybody. Like I see, there's a few 3 years, $24 million. Like that's
sure.
Yeah. Aaron Jones, did he end up? Was he in Minnesota?
That's who signed him. Yeah, did his contract get released?
Supposedly he went to the Vikings. It's not on this list I'm looking at though. They missed a spot.
That was a rumor, not confirmed, maybe, or
could be. He's not on the list as unsigned at all either. So this list is incomplete.
1 year, $7 million.
Damn.
Wow,
that's rude.
Wow.
He really wanted to play for the Vikings.
Actually, though,
a quarterbackless Vikings at that too. Maybe that's why he's like, "Oh, more money for me now. They're not paying Cousins."
And maybe
they can get a chunk of that.
Maybe that's something that's surprising in that like Green Bay moves on from Aaron Jones, who has been arguably their best skill player the last 4 years and still is, I think, or still was. Move on from him only to sign Josh Jacobs 4 years, $48 million, which good for Jacobs, but Jacobs has not been the same as what he was, and maybe part of that is the Raiders, but Jones has been very good still when LaFleur decides to actually, give him the ball. So interesting move by the Packers to move on from Jones just to throw a bunch of money at a running back who I would say is not as good as Jones.
And then what's interesting is I know you talk about running back injuries, but I'm looking here. The last 4 straight years, right? So consistency is huge for the position.
Mm-hmm.
4 straight years, 2019 to 2022, he had 1,100 scrimmage yards and 7 scrimmage TDs for 4 straight seasons. Okay, 2023, he has some injury concerns. He only has 3 total touchdowns and 950 scrimmage yards in 11 games played. I get it. Okay, so he had a bad year. I feel kind of all right, and so now we just dump him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess if they think that they are in a situation where they don't.
Jacobs had an equally bad year too. That's so. Do they think they got an upgrade in Jacobs? Jacobs missed a bunch of time. His stats were not that great either. If I'm correct, right, Carl?
He missed 4 games. He played 13, so 4 games, I guess. I still as effective as ever, I think, but just running backs are just not worth what they earn on the market, in my mind. I'm sure he'll pick up, a good 1,200 yards up there, but it's tough.
Well, he'll be splitting time with. Well, I guess they moved on from AJ Dillon too, so maybe he won't be splitting time.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to sign Jacobs, I would think he'd be to be a feature back like the Raiders have used him. His availability, his lack of injuries last season aside, I think is one of his strengths. He'll go out there and carry the ball 25 times a game, and not complain about it. So that's probably what they're looking for, I would imagine, in him, which makes sense why they're moving on from Dillon Jones. Yeah.
So anyway, so outside of the running back market, guess who's going to get to see Kirk Cousins live?
Oh,
that's exciting.
Oh, yeah.
That's exciting. 4 years, $180 million.
Yeah, I think it was 45 million average, which wasn't that the same as his last deal?
I think it was.
Or that was like the Mahomes deal, but I feel like we were talking about this earlier in the week, but it's kind of crazy. I feel like quarterback contracts are peaking, maybe. Because free market, you're always going to overpay, but to say that Cousins and Mahomes are making the same amount of money is kind of crazy.
I mean, to be fair, they locked in Mahomes' deal 3 years ago now.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, at the time, I mean, it was
big
just
10-year extension.
Yeah. I mean, when I couldn't even tell. I think that's the longest tenured. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's a baseball deal. You don't see that in football, no.
So I'm glad that they stuck with it to make. I mean, it's paying dividends now. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Falcons are doing just what they want a guy. Is Kirk Cousins going to be the guy? I mean, he'll be a certainly improvement from what they've had for the last few years. Yeah. Is that going to make the outcome of their season any better? It's going to be debatable. We'll see.
They got their tight end. They got the running back, and now they got the quarterback. So I mean, the weapons are there. They got the new coach.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm not sure how much of a difference maker it'll be, but they got Kirk for 4 years to try and figure out the rest of the roster around him to put something together.
Do you think the Atlanta Falcons are just becoming like the Chargers East?
Ooh,
that's so much potential, so many good names on paper, but they just can never figure it out.
Yeah,
I love it. Yeah. I think that is a fantastic way to describe them.
Yeah, I can't argue that.
That's a good one. I like that.
So, new coaches. I mean, hopefully they turn it around. But it's kind of funny that it's one of those teams that just keeps assembling talent. A lot of players from around the league. It's that's pretty good. Cousins, pretty good quarterback. And then, why isn't this working? What do we need to fix? Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, they had Matt Ryan for years, who was an excellent quarterback for just about all his time, and they only had one, maybe 2 really good seasons with him.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give him 3 really good seasons with him. But
And Kyle Shanahan left, and that was kind of
yeah,
beginning of the end.
that's all she wrote.
Oh, should we get into some team specific stuff?
We certainly can.
Could, yeah.
Yeah.
I know. I mean, I could take up half the
Yeah.
show with what the Steelers
So I was
have
gonna
done.
say Russ Wilson, Patrick Queen. Who's the most hype?
So that's where I'm kind of like,
Hmm.
the more that I think about, again, Russell Wilson coming to Pittsburgh on a 1-year deal, the more I'm happy to see some urgency out of our current front office. Pittsburgh has this history of being this franchise of doing things the old way. Again, their contracts are structured old, where they don't have as many guarantees, right? They are literally making the biggest free agent splash they ever have in the history of the franchise, and I'll get more on that in a second. But I just think that the idea of them kind of realizing that a lot of their players that they have acquired, and again, looking at kind of like the defensive superstars of our Cam Hayward, budding, I say budding, I mean, he's still a stud right now. Alex Highsmith, obviously TJ Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick, having so much money tied up for so long on that side of the ball. And I mean, again, we're not the best defense, and I think we're absolutely good enough to be a championship caliber defense with just the star power alone. That being said, I feel like as our players have gotten older and we've kind of made questionable choices on how we are going to win, some things that stand out are to fill after Marquise Pouncey retired, we draft second round, or actually third round, Kendrick Green, who was a center and is currently he's unemployed. I think he faded out after 2 years with the team.
Yeesh.
So one of the things that does kind of stand out is, as I'm talking about kind of our way of doing things, Deontay Johnson, who did get traded away. I'll talk about that in a second. He was the last remaining player of our 2018 draft class. So literally everyone from 2018 is not on the team.
Wow.
We only have one player named Alex Highsmith on the team from our 2019 draft. So our idea of trying to grow through the draft, or get players, grow them through not spend a whole lot on free agency. Like, obviously things have changed in a combination between our front office, maybe how they're evaluating talent, things like that, where the draft process for us is not the ideal way to build this team, and we're saying, hey, we have to change the way we do things, and we're doing it under GM Omar Khan now, which is awesome. So all that being said, do I think that it was the right choice to try and get what we need to get over the hump? Sure. I think just adding Russell Wilson, I think, can get us to win a playoff game.
I mean, and you got Russ Wilson for basically free. You're paying him $1.2 million vet minimum this year.
I mean, you couldn't ask for a better situation from a cap perspective to make that work.
Silly Broncos.
Now, with that being said, am I concerned about kind of like the drama? Basically, we're going to have this conversation next season about what next.
Right.
Because after Russell, again, we are not committed to, maybe Kenny Pickett will grow under Russ Wilson for a year and we'll get like a Jordan Love thing where he goes into a cocoon under Aaron Rodgers, finally comes out and I don't think that's what we're going to get, but I can hope, right? But I do think that we are kicking the can down for that, what next conversation. We're going to win a playoff game potentially next season. We're not going to make it very far. We're not going to make it to the big dance. Russell Wilson's going to be gone. We're going to have an agitated quarterback that we drafted who's no longer going to want to be here. And now we're going to have to try and start this process over again. So with that being said, I am hoping that we continue to be active the way we have been in this free agency and just go all in. Like, you know what? How many times are you going to get a Russ Wilson is what, 35, 36? Like, has top 5 stats. I'm assuming he's going to be in the Hall of Fame at some point. And all of that, and we're getting him on a Vetman deal because of some other team's poor money management choices. So forget about it. Let's go. Like, let's just push it all forward and let's see what we can get. Is kind of how I see that whole quarterback situation kind of unfolding. So that said, I'm happy for it.
Yeah. I mean, Pickett could have a lot worse mentors than Russell Wilson, like Mitch Trubisky, for instance. So, it can't hurt, right?
No, I don't think so.
Maybe.
What do you think? What do you think?
I mean, just from all the nonsense of Russ for the last couple of years,
Sure.
Who knows who's ultimately to blame? But the fact that he's involved in a couple questionable situations, it might hurt. I'm not saying it will, and I think it's not likely to hurt, but you never know with those sort of things. But all in all, to be able to take a flyer on a 35-year-old quarterback for $1 million, like he was probably top 10ish, top 15ish, probably. Why not? Why wouldn't you? Like the worst thing is hurting Pickett's feelings. Like, he's a professional. Get over it. Like,
yeah. And Russell Wilson, I think he's going to really vibe with the Pittsburgh polka. I think that's really right up Russell Wilson's alley. That he's going to put out a video of him singing the Pittsburgh polka again too. It's coming. He immediately posted the day he got signed. I saw on his Instagram Instagram video where he was playing Renegade. So he's already bought in.
He's already in. Which is hilarious. I mean, I am hoping that, like, again, Mike Tomlin is going to be able to kind of do his thing, and what we get out of Russ is kind of everything that you could hope for. What I am, I guess, like, with that being said, I do think that what concerns me right now is, okay, so we have a court, like, now what weapons do we have? And again, alluding to the fact that Deontay Johnson, who has been last season showing signs of being frustrated, not having a great year, in an offense. And so that's the other thing, right? So with Matt Canada gone, new quarterback coming in, new OC coming in, and our wide receiver 1 is now traded away for a cornerback. So now it's really this offense. Like, I have no idea what, like, nobody does. Like, what are we going to get in this offseason? Like, what like training? I'm going to be so involved in watching Pittsburgh's training camp at this point because I have no idea what product we're going to get. Because literally the longest tenured offensive player on our team. Do you want to guess what his name is?
Is it Najee Harris?
It is 100% Najee Harris. So it's like that is the old guard. Him and Pat Freiermuth, who was drafted a day after Najee Harris. So, yeah, a very young team to kind of work on, the fact that 2021 is the youngest or the oldest offensive player when they entered the league on our team right now. They've been on the team for 2 years.
All right. Well, there are some free agent wide receivers still out there if you want.
Hunter Renfrow.
Odell Beckham. Want some drama-free players. That's one to go for.
That would be great.
T. Higgins wants a trade. You can trade for him if you want.
Yeah, he's going to cost a penny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mike
we
Williams,
don't have that.
Hollywood Brown, Michael Thomas.
Hollywood
Brown. A lot
Brown.
of dudes. Yeah.
People were talking Tyler Boyd.
Yeah.
I guess they're having a chat. He was originally he went to like a Pittsburgh school, I guess. People are talking about.
A big quality pickup.
So we'll see about that. So yeah, it's on the offensive side of the ball. That's kind of that's kind of. I don't know what to expect. I don't know how to feel. Right? Like someone tell me how to feel. I don't like it's. I've got feelings.
Well, your offense couldn't get much worse. So
it could not get much worse. That is 100% correct. And I would like to point out that Russell Wilson's quote-unquote off-season, whatever his product was, I'm not talking 2 years ago, just last season. His 26 touchdowns double any production of what Kenny Pickett has had in the last 2 years. Right. So like let's not look at it as like it's clearly a upgrade. And we're gonna run with it and make it happen. Now we did mention also another, in my opinion, a more exciting free agent signing. Last week I did talk about my concern at the inside linebacker position, and what do? We
best
try
one.
and take someone from not only the Ravens, but someone who is familiar with Pittsburgh, having gone against us, Patrick Queen.
Yeah,
And,
not just someone, one of the best, I would say.
Yeah.
and that's 100% right. And not only that, we signed him to a 3-year, $13.6 million average per year, which is the highest average yearly value of a free agent Pittsburgh has ever signed.
Yeah.
So, just for reference, that
Wow.
that's
kinda
the
wild.
bar. That is the biggest free agent signing from a. Now again, I have not looked at it from like a salary cap perspective, so I'd have to really like kind of dive into on like a percentage base, anything that's happened kind of in the past. But again, from a financial, from a number, that record was set last year actually with our offensive tackle James Daniels at $8 million average yearly value. So again, free
Jeez.
agent signing. So yeah. So under Omar Khan, we're making quote unquote splashes. But Patrick Queen actually like I'm super excited about it. People are they do question his coverage skills. And I'm not too. I mean, he's a quick enough guy. He's got the smarts for it. I do think that when Baltimore added Roquan Smith, who again had also a very good season. I mean, Queen, they declined his 5th-year option. I just don't think that they could kind of make the numbers work to have that amount of money invested in a pair of inside linebackers, and so that's kind of what has kind of let him slip through and make his way over to our team. And so now I couldn't be more excited about that position being like solidified up now. We do have the guys that we did bring in last year who did get hurt, plus Patrick Queen, and I think all of a sudden, hopefully the middle of the field is going to be a much more dangerous place for the opposing offenses. So I am super excited about that. Also, I'm sorry, I've got one more to me. Not the sexiest thing to talk about, but special teams wins games.
Yes, unfortunately they do.
Oh no.
And we did get a new punter.
Oh,
So
boy.
I am excited about that. We did lose, or we cut Presley Harvin III, one thickus kickus.
Shame.
And we have brought in Cameron Johnston, who was with the Houston Texans and Philadelphia Eagles. What's exciting about that is at one point in 2021, he was the NFL punting leader. And last season, averaging 47.7 yards per punt versus our Harvin's 43.8, which was the bottom of the league. He also was able to land 45.5% of his punts inside the 20-yard line with only 3 touchbacks, compared to Harvin's 38% and 6 touchbacks. So why
stats? Where's the hang times?
Why does that impress me or excite me? Is because all of a sudden, when you have a team who is predicated on winning these one-score games, and again, I have no idea what our offense is going to look like, the fact that we now have from a single position able to, it seems to easily net a solid 6 more yards per punt, that I think that just helps us, just significantly from that single position in terms of what that field position is going to look like. So that makes me excited that we drafted a guy. It didn't work out. We got a known quantity, and hopefully it continues to make waves for us. So again, kind of making moves all over the place.
Hopefully not setting any records for free agent contract value with the player.
No, nothing. Actually, I don't even know what he's getting paid. So
I mean, I think all planners are like $4 to $6 mil, aren't they? Like,
yeah,
no one's really going crazy.
and
That
I'm
was last
fine
I
with
checked.
that.
Yeah, but feels like uncharted waters for Pittsburgh. Really, just
100%.
yeah, like some fans wanted to kind of go all out and sick of being these middling, quote unquote, which I think is a little silly, but it feels like they got their wish. You know, more aggressive than normal.
Yep, and again, as a fan, what is a little worrisome is that I feel like our sights are maybe a little short-sighted, and again, we're trying to win a playoff game, right? Like we've been this like above average team to then lose in the playoffs. The playoffs expand to a 7th team, so we continue to make it in, and we just get our faces kicked every time so far since 2016. So I do like that we are trying to improve at every position, right? All teams should, under that salary cap and make it work. I am a little worried that with our recent, I say recent, when I again mentioned the Deontay Johnson draft from 2017, Alex Highsmith being the only player from our 2018 draft, not getting any value from where we need. But looking at the 2023 draft, Joey Porter Jr. becomes our immediate QB1. Broderick Jones in the first round, starter halfway through the season. So it seems like we are getting hopefully some more value out of the draft that we need so we can continue playing the type of football that we can expect and hopefully win a playoff game.
Hey, I mean, it's unrealistic to think that you could turn around and just go and win the Super Bowl. So you got to start somewhere, right? And
Yep.
If you've got a young enough team, like getting that one win, that's still a step in the right direction.
It is.
If that's
It's
all
big.
it is.
And didn't bet the farm. It feels like too. Like made some moves, maybe uncharacteristic, but still not like all in, screwed for the next 4 years. So,
yeah.
Plenty to be hopeful for, I think.
So yeah, it's been wild. It's again, I was talking about last about free agency, like not sure what to expect out of Omar Khan. He was active last season, and I mean sticking right to it. So it's certainly a fun time for me to kind of see what kind of product is this going to turn into, because this is, I think, going to be a precedent for the next 10 years maybe as to what under that particular GM. However long GMs last, I say, because they last a while for Pittsburgh. So, so I do like to see a little bit more activity. Gives me a little bit more to be excited about for the season coming up.
Yeah, right on.
There's your Steelers wrap up.
Yeah,
Love it.
What about Sam Franland? I actually have no idea.
Fairly quiet. Most of our moves have been
re-signings, right?
Re-signings and freeing up cap space. The biggest move, of course, which came as a complete surprise to me. I was not expecting this, but releasing longtime defensive lineman Eric Armstead, who was our longest tenured player on the roster, because we drafted him in 2015.
Cap hit and health thing, kind of, right?
Yeah, I mean his health hasn't been a massive issue, but this past year he's missed a fair amount of time, which we definitely noticed, not having that big body in the middle, because Eric Armstead is a big body. So it's sad to see him go, because he was there in the tough times, and we he got to play in a few Super Bowls with us, and but I get it, business decision. I guess we asked him to take a pay cut of some kind, and he refused, and they said, all right, I guess we'll have to release you. So that's the way it goes. I wish him the best. Who knows, maybe the Colts will pick him up and he gets reunited with Buckner. Those two together are fun to watch. But yeah, so that freed us some cap space to re-sign some value guys, and probably the biggest signing, I mean, it is the biggest signing we did, was signing Leonard Floyd from the Bills for 2 years, $20 million. I believe he was their sack leader last year. So he was, with losing someone like Chase Young opposite Bosa, bringing in someone like Leonard Floyd to kind of fill that gap, I think is the idea. Just to make sure that pass rush stays hungry. We also picked up a guy I'd never heard of, Yetur Gross-Matos, for 2 years, $18 million. Another edge guy, so just some more edge help, I guess.
Must be okay for that contract. Damn.
Yeah. Where did he come from? He was with Carolina, so that explains why I've never heard of him.
Fire sale going on down there, yeah.
Yeah. A lot of guys were letting basically walk. You know, a lot of depth guys largely. We did re-sign another depth guy in Kevin Givens, which I'm a fan of. Great rotational piece on the D line. So I'm happy with that. We re-signed our right tackle Colton McKivitz. Okay. Fine, I guess. I have heard that we talked to like every single first round level prospect, O-line first round prospect, and no other O-lineman outside of the first round prospects apparently at the combine. So maybe we're targeting O-line in the first round. I don't know.
Smoke screen.
Yeah,
no, it's not that part of the year yet.
We're taking a QB. What else we got here? Oh, we did tender my boy Juwan Jennings because he was a restricted free agent, so we tendered him. So we'll be paying him $5 million this year, unless somebody wants to make him a better offer than that and give us a second round pick. So I don't see that happening. I love Juwan, but I don't see a team giving up a second round for him plus having to beat $5 million a year.
Probably not. No.
So I'm happy with that. I don't know if Juwan's happy with that, but I'm happy with that because Juwan's an excellent slot, 3 receiver, whatever you want to call him. If you watch the Super Bowl, you saw a lot of him making a lot of big plays. So I'm happy with that. Other than that, I think no big splashes this year like last year. Just picking up some depth and rotational pieces, keeping some guys around. Re-signed George Odom, 2 years, $10 million, backup safety / our best special teamer. We seem to always have like this just one really good special teamer. So happy with that too. But other than that, nothing too flashy. Keeping it simple, and probably just saving up for paying our draft guys. But once again, who knows? I've been surprised before where the Niners find money to. Like Hargrave, that came out of left field. I was not expecting.
Yeah, that was wild.
Maybe, and that's probably why we let Armstead walk this year too, because we feel having Hargrave with rotational guys will be enough. So, and I would guarantee we're going to target defensive tackle, defensive interior in the draft. We almost always do anyways. So
sure. I was gonna say your comp picks too. I almost wonder if letting him walk is like a part of feeding that, because you said they got a whole bunch this year, right?
We got
from last year's
5 or 6 comp picks, something like that.
From last year's free agency, yeah, which is bonkers.
Yeah, last year's free agency, and you get comp picks for minority coaches that get hired out too, which we had a few of those. So,
man,
it seems like they're playing that system well, which is what it's designed to do. So
exactly,
kind of working on both ends there. Why wouldn't you take advantage of it if you're in a position to?
And as a team, we are notoriously good at drafting well in later rounds, and that's where those comp picks come in like real handy. And those are third, I think. The highest ones come in at the end of the third, so good value to trade up in the early rounds if you really wanted to.
Definitely. What would you say is like the biggest weakness on that roster now? Most addressable position?
Offensive line, by a mile. We have Trent Williams and that's about it. I mean, I would love to see a guard or a right tackle, or I would even take a center, like something to shore up the right side of the line more. It's been an issue for a while now. It's not just last year. It's been an issue for a bit. So I hope that's where I would like to see us target the draft. I don't know that we could afford anyone in free agency that would make a big enough difference. So that's what I'm looking at. Outside of that, yeah, the roster's mint. So as long as we're healthy.
Do you feel that with what they asked out of Armstead? Because I feel like what they're getting out of Leonard, I mean, probably less of a player than what Armstead was offering. And the reason, again, just checking at Sport Track really quick, was I didn't realize how he was restructured. He signed that big deal, and then you restructure guys to borrow against what they have,
Right.
and then it gets his salary so high that they're like, we can't pay this season, so you have two options, right? And but like the dead money, because I think you said it was 2 years, 20 million for Leonard, and like the dead money this year is 10 million for Armstead. So I'm just like, it seems like an interesting, right? Like you're eating 20 mil, half goes to Armstead, half for a player under 2 years. Because this was the 2024 would have been the last year of his deal.
Yeah, I mean Leonard Floyd's 12 million guaranteed. That's the only real
Okay,
info I got
gotcha.
on
Gotcha.
that. So yes, it's a 20 mil contract, but I'm sure it's structured in a way that makes it a little more palatable.
Gotcha. Okay, so that was one of those things. Is like it's unfortunate.
Oh, we lost you.
Oh, there it goes. There it goes.
Welcome
Sorry.
back.
That as like a player, right? You do those restructures for the team, and then he still gets his money, right? Like it's not that like but now like as a player, you're kind of in a weird spot because I'm getting 25 million from the team, even though I'm not playing for them anymore. But now like I've got to go find a new team, right? And so I don't know. Pittsburgh does a lot of restructuring too, and I just feel like losing a player because of what they've chosen to do in the past for someone who has been such an anchor on that team. Like obviously the 49ers know what they're doing.
He was a captain this last year too, so he was very important.
See,
It's a tough call.
That's a tough one. That's tough. Yeah.
I feel like we just like of all the players, like looking at it, like it came as a surprise, but like of all the players we're gonna do it to, he's 31, 32, which I know Leonard Floyd also is, but granted, playing a different kind of position in defensive interior or big end at times. We probably just felt like that's where the value, like we could afford to lose that value, right? Like we felt confident in our ability to have rotational guys on the D-line, and we feel confident in our D-line coaching, and perhaps there's someone we really like in the draft too that we feel is attainable for us. Like who knows?
Sure.
That we can just replace younger and cheaper, and that's kind of what we're looking at. So, like I said, it's weird move. I have mixed feelings about it. Like from a business perspective, I think it makes sense. From a team perspective, we'll find out, I suppose.
Sure. We shall see.
That's right.
All right, well, tell us about them Raiders.
Yeah, making some moves.
Las Vegas. Pat myself on the back a little bit. I think got this whole free agency class predicted pretty well. Not perfect, but it kind of started off with re-signing the center Andre James, which I love. Of the three linemen set to be free agents, he was probably the priority in my mind. Illuminor, the right tackle, signed with the Giants, and he got paid. And the versatility he offers, he can kind of bounce between guard and tackle, so I'm not too surprised at that. And then right guard, they still have to figure out, but I'll get to that in a sec. But yeah, happy to see James back. And then the big splash signing was Christian Wilkins.
Yeah,
Wilkins.
Yeah, so like I knew, obviously everyone knows DT was probably their weakest position group. I didn't think they'd make that big of a splash, but goddamn, I'm not complaining.
Yeah,
that is pretty hype. Gonna be fun to watch him and Crosby go at it. Hopefully knock down. Who do the Broncos have? I don't remember.
I don't
Drew
know.
Lock? Yeah.
No, not anymore. Who knows?
Oh shit. Well, we'll figure that out. But that's pretty hype. I feel like that really shores up the defense. And then lost Jacobs. Wasn't too surprised. Lost Jacobson, the fullback too. No one to really replace them. Re-signed Amir Abdullah, kind of rotational guy, running back by committee, pretty standard stuff, I think. And the big one was quarterback, bringing in Gardner Minshew.
Hell yeah!
Let's go!
Yeah, the Minshew mania.
Can't wait.
A very funny quarterback, definitely entertaining. Very, I don't know, confident in his goober ways. Feels like a bridge quarterback to me, though. And the contract, I mean, obviously, $25 million for 2 years. He's not getting paid a ton. And I feel like he's not the best prospect out there either. So, like, if you were trying to like lock up someone who's going to really push that offense over 4 years, I don't think it would have been Minshew. Which is okay because it's not the strongest offense anyway. So I don't know if maybe they're eyeing. I don't know if they're eyeing someone in the draft or like there's eyeing someone next year or what their plan is. For now, they're like, oh, he's going to compete with O'Connell. I don't think that's going to be much of a competition. I'd be pretty surprised if it went very far in the draft. I think Minshew will be okay there. But I remember listening to
you remind yourself this is the franchise points leader, right? Single game point setting franchise history making.
It's true. It is true.
Before you put some disrespect to that man's name, but lest we not forget.
He's had some highs. He's had some lows too. So it's kind of it's all over the place. I mean, it's a rookie. I can't be too upset. But it's kind of one of those things where it's like his potential has room to grow. It doesn't strike me as a whole lot. I've been wrong. We'll see. I'm optimistic on the season as a whole. But this one feels like a longer term plan is kind of in place more than like we want to just go into this season going nuts. I remember listening to an athletic show. It was last offseason, but they're talking about Minshew. And I can't get out of my head. Nate Tice was basically comparing him to a baseball player who only hits singles.
I love it.
It's like he won't hit your shots. He won't score you a lot of runs. He's going to take the safe play, and that is all he will do. So I was like, it could be worse. If your strength is your defense, you want a guy who's not going to turn the ball over. He's going to be nice and safe and take your checkdowns. He's not going to be a Carr or a Gannon or some of the more exciting quarterbacks they've had over the years. But it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. Something to look forward to. Watch some film, maybe get to know the player even better. That's basically it. I think right guard's a funny spot right now. I think their starter, quote unquote, is DJ Fluker. His name you guys might have seen around the league. I don't think he's been on an actual roster in 4 years.
Wow.
He's been bounced around from practice squad to practice squad. He's our age too. He's like 34 years old. So I can't imagine that's the plan for starters. So I would imagine when the draft rolls around, they're probably gonna be looking right tackle, probably guard. But they still have $35 million to spend as well. So I don't know what the market exactly looks like for the guards. I haven't been following too closely, but maybe they make another play there. Maybe there's something in the works. Traditionally, the Raiders, McKenzie like to make a lot of moves in like the second, third week of free agency. He's not there anymore, so I don't know why I bring it up, but it's just something as fans we're kind of used to seeing over the years. Maybe Mark Davis approves it or issues those mandates. Who knows? I don't think they're done. I don't think they're going to look to roll a ton of cap into these next seasons. So hopefully they bring in a couple more players to kind of shore up the spots. Probably some less sexy names, but keep the news going. Keep things fun, keep it interesting. But that's basically where I see the Raiders at.
That's but good on you for making it. That's
Right,
kind of what you're looking for. That's what's
It's funny because I don't want to be
That's
too.
awesome.
Yeah, it's like they had returning so many starters. It wasn't the hardest thing to predict. I feel like probably a lot of fans are saying the same thing. But it's kind of like the DTs and O line and build through the trenches. And I miss those years. When Tommy mentioned your O line was the weakest. It's like I remember those mid-10s Raiders years when that was their strength. I'm like that was kind of nice when you have to worry about quarterback getting sacked every other play and the run game was moving. And it's like it'd be kind of fun if we could get back to those days. So spend some money on that line. We love our big boys. We know that.
Yep.
Yeah, I love watching the Raiders in those years when Darren McFadden was able to just actually get tons of yards. Just watching your O-line move people around. It's like, he's still got it. All right.
The old McFadden and Latavius Murray and some of those guys. Gabe Jackson I saw was on the free agent list. I don't know if he's open to a return.
Really?
There you go.
Could be a funny reunion.
Man, Latavius Murray, he was a stud. What is he doing now?
He was on the Bills
He was in
last year.
Buffalo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where he's at.
Oh, you're right. He was.
He was on the Saints. He was on the Vikings. He's been all over the
I think
place.
he might still be, maybe still with Buffalo. I don't think he's hit free agency.
Oh, I thought he was under a 1 year deal. He's only 33.
For a running back, that's.
I mean, I guess I thought he was much older. I guess is because I feel like his name has been around forever.
Fair enough. Oh, I mean, he has, yeah.
Yeah, he's still listed with the Bills, I believe. So
Good for him, man. That's awesome.
yeah.
All right. Yeah.
What else? What else we got? What else has piqued your interest throughout free agency here? It's.
Well, I mean, do you just kind of want to like talk about so like another one that like what are your guys' thoughts on completely other side of the Baker signing?
He's staying, right?
He is staying 3 years, 100 million.
Oh, I don't know it was that much.
33
Yeah.
Good-
I like
good
it.
for him.
Good for Baker
Yeah.
finally getting paid.
Right? Like,
Yeah, it's not
I
like
feel
Cousins
that-
Mahomes money, but
he
I
deserves
feel like,
that much at least.
I agree 100%. I feel like he has been dragged around, right? He got traded over to the Panthers, then he gets bopped over to and just like, just getting kind of thrown around. And I still think
Blame the Browns.
blame 100%, 100%.
no, but I'm with you. I felt like he was on that like Trubisky kind of like backup arc.
Exactly. Yep.
And he kind of clawed his way out of it. He's like, no. I could still be a starter and get that money. And good for him. Like, yeah, maybe he's not the best starter in the league, but for where Tampa's at, I feel like he's probably the best they're going to find. And yeah, he gets his money and kind of I feel like a win-win story all around.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was very excited when I saw that, where I'm like, man, like, is this going to be just like another team using him as a rental, getting what they need, and then so I mean, 3 years, right? Not super long, but long enough that like, you know what, like he is committed to that team. He's getting the money he deserves. I feel like that is.
Yeah, and he can, if it goes well, he could probably get another deal at the end of that too. Like he's not super old.
Young. Yeah.
So it's kind of
he'll have Mike Evans for 2 of those years, so he'll be able to put at least 1,000 yards up
easily
this season, without a doubt. Yeah, it's a fun story. Yeah, coming in and being able to put the final nail in the Eagles' coffin in the playoffs, cap the season off, and yeah, I'm excited for him. I mean, it seemed like they were starting to figure some more things out as an offense towards the end of that season. Hopefully, they can keep it rolling and keep the NFC South interesting. I mean, I guess the NFC South is most interesting when all 4 teams are bad, but so maybe make it less interesting. I don't know.
sure.
What about some of those other quarterbacks, like a Sam Darnold, Rudolph, Brissett?
Is Sam Darnold the presumed starter in Minnesota right now?
I think that's what they're looking at. Yep.
His preseason was that good last year. I guess that's it.
Unreal. Yeah, I don't know what they're gonna do. I mean, good for Sam to keep bopping around. He's high in backup, low tier starter level, so who knows? Anything could happen.
Not too worried about the backup spot in San Fran.
We re-signed Brandon Allen, who was our 3rd quarterback all of last year. I suppose you could say I'm a little concerned, but I think it's one of those things. There's, Brock is very much the guy, and if we don't have Brock, we don't practice. Fucked. So.
There we go. Fair enough.
That's too funny. No, you mentioned Mason Rudolph. I mean, again, I find that name to be so like the fact that people are like that it's worthy to ask about him. I'm like, good for you, Mason. I'd love to see that. Signing as I guess competing for the backup spot in Tennessee. So getting some money. You know what? Good for him. I think he deserves to be a backup somewhere in the league. Unfortunately, I mean the most thing that he's unfortunately famous for is either his name because it's Rudolph, or B, the fact that he got clobbered in the head with a football helmet. And like that, if that's what you're most famous for, and you're still able to make money off of it, like, you know what? Good for you, my guy. Like, you'd love to see it.
Yeah. I think in Tennessee, I'm most excited about Ridley, that signing, pairing him up with Hopkins. I don't know about the money they paid him, maybe a bit much, but it should be a pretty exciting offense at least.
Yeah, I mean, I think they still have D-Hop too, I think, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah.
Brissett reuniting with the Patriots after bopping around to like every team imaginable for the last 5 years.
Brian Hoyer, free agent too. They can
Get
the dream happen.
So's Jimmy G. They could bring them all back.
Oh,
How many of these Patriots quarterbacks are floating around? This is
Just as many as there are ex-Patriots who were now ex-head coaches. Oh, boy. Something about Jameis Winston signing with the Browns just amuses me. I don't know why. 1 year, $4 million deal, so he's that's backup money, but not like the Browns have any other money. Joe Flacco is still floating around out there, right? Who knows?
Oh, he is. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. He's got to do the midseason thing and just wait for someone to get hurt.
That's such a
step
smart
in,
play. Yeah,
be the hero.
Step in, throw bombs for 5 games, and what a good season this was. Good for you, Joe.
Like, not even for the money, just because, like, you're the vet. You don't need training camp anymore.
Yep.
Just show up when you're needed. Doesn't matter where.
just chuck bombs door number 1 and forget about the rest.
Yep.
what do you guys think about? I feel like Jacksonville was also very active in free agency.
They kind of were.
Gabe Jackson and there's another receiver, wasn't
Gabe
it?
Davis, yeah.
Or Gabe Davis, yeah, and
They pick up Mitch Morse at center, which is the Bills' like all-pro center. Darnell Savage they grabbed, safety from Green Bay.
Devin Duvernay is the other Jacksonville guy they brought in. 2 years, $8 million.
Ronald Darby at cornerback.
Yeah, so kind of cool to see that they're
and acquired in trade Mac Jones.
Oh yeah,
that's right.
And Mac Jones. Fun place for the record.
Presumably.
Every time I've got, I think we went to our game. I went to a Giants game down there. Did I go to a third game? I really like going to Jacksonville games. That's a fun place.
I did ours and one other, but they were both they were a great time.
Yeah, highly recommend. If you ever get the chance, go to a Jacksonville game. Also, quick little segue in terms of free agency. Curious on your takes. We have 2 players that are going by the same name that are currently not on anyone's team. One being Chase Young, another being Chase Claypool.
Oh.
Yeah.
What are where do you think?
Chase Claypool's a Kadarius Toney level talent in my mind. So
it'd be worse than that. That's giving him credit.
Chase Young a little surprising. I would assume he would have been fairly high.
I figured he would, unless like his asking price is like.
Could be. He's
higher
still young.
than...
He is a physical freak.
I wonder if it's like an effort thing, like this, him taking snaps off and all that sort of stuff. Like, okay, you were unhappy in Washington. You got traded to one of the best defenses in the league, and you're still pulling this shit. Like, what else do you need? Like, you got your money. You're on a good ass team.
Yep.
I'd be a little concerned.
That's a good thought.
I don't think I'd refuse to pay him anything, but yeah, I'd probably knock a couple mil off. Be like, sorry, bud.
Yeah, he reminds me a little bit of someone else who's a free agent now, Jadeveon Clowney. Just all the talent in the world, a lot of hype, and then just not a whole lot came of it. Now Clowney had some flashy years, and I know he dealt with a lot of injury too. But which might have been his biggest knock. But he had a decent year with the Ravens this past year, though. So I'm surprised somebody didn't take a flyer on him.
I thought he did get signed.
Did he? I don't think he did. That would be cool.
I guess not. Where's he gonna go? Probably not the Raiders.
Bring to San Fran. Why not? Couldn't hurt.
Bring him to Pittsburgh. Come on, that's where this is where the party's at.
You could send him to Denver and sign him on a bonkers deal, and then cut him, and then
then we pick him up. Just play the long game.
Yes.
Just playing the long game.
Sean Payton's a foreign agent.
Yeah, I'm surprised about Chase Young. But like I said, maybe he's asking for way more money than teams are willing to give him, which would make sense.
If you had to guess, what do you think Chase Young signs for? Average yearly.
What are the comps here?
The franchise tag, I think, is what we use, right? As
franchise tag is a 24 mil.
24
that's what
is.
Josh Allen's getting. He's
Yeah,
not. Chase is not worth 24 mil a year. I'm just gonna throw that out.
He's not.
There. I
like
could see
10, 12.
Yeah, somewhere in the 10 to 12 range would make sense. That's like Leonard Floyd's getting 10 mil a year in his 30s. So 12 is probably fair. But whatever deal he signs is probably like a 3-year deal tops.
15.
Okay.
You could see 3 years, 45 mil. You could see that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Put some void nonsense in there, non-guarantees.
Yeah, low guarantees.
Cat magic, but yeah.
Yeah.
How many sacks has Chase Young had in his career?
Not a lot.
Let me see.
He did miss some time for injury too.
He did miss some time.
I think he only had 10 or 11 last year.
Wow, he's only had 16 sacks in his whole.
That's crazy.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, which like that's the whole prospect of that kind of player is sacks. If you're not,
right, because you can just literally single-handedly move an offensive guard away from you to get through that. Like,
I'm sure someone will pick him up, but he's definitely not going to get top tier money.
Yeah. Oh, never. I said 15 without looking at his number, and now I'm laughing at myself. Unfortunate series of events.
3 year, 36 mil.
Tough teams and tough chance to earn those stats or to put them on paper. Maybe not the best pass rush going on in Washington, but yeah, definitely like to see more.
Yeah, I mean, if you get put onto a defensive line like in a defense like San Francisco, and you can't put up double-digit sacks in double-digit games, maybe you just don't have it.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, one game. What more could you ask for?
Like, John, I'm sure you could get a sack or two playing with the rest of that Niners defense.
I still got that motor, baby.
Yeah,
right. Only one way to find out.
Yeah.
My hamstrings are gonna rip themselves apart, but I'll get that one sack.
Yeah,
that'd be so funny. Yeah, it'll come off a play of someone's taking a break, and that's when I'll take advantage of it. Taking a play off.
Gotta get that one. Let's say the league meetings are going on too this week. Last week, I think, tends to be rules proposals. It feels like a lot of rehashes, but a lot of onside kick modifications.
Again,
people talking about challenging. Yeah, just to say, I feel like people are just going to reintroduce this stuff every year until the league finally says okay.
That's how it all works.
Yeah, it really seems like it. But yeah, it's like there's that. There's the challenge any penalty, coaches challenge option. Challenge anything within 2 minutes. I think Belichick used to push for that. Now I think it's Frank Reich leading the charge, or I don't remember. But yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to bring it up in case you guys had seen anything or had any thoughts. But I think also well covered at this point.
Yeah, if they actually act on any of it, we'll see. But
that's fair. The hip drop tackle stuff. Seems
that's some drama to be had right there.
So I don't think we've talked about that.
Maybe we haven't.
A couple weeks ago, but yeah, I remember seeing that in the headlines a lot, and I'm like, this kind of sucks. And then I actually dug into what they're calling hip drop tackles, and then it's like, oh, that seems reasonable completely.
Yeah, the things they want to target, I completely understand. My concern is when it comes to actually enforcing it, it's gonna be a nightmare. I feel like it's not gonna be as subjective as we would hope it is. Like even looking like the horse collar, that gets called wrong from time to time too, and nothing happens.
Oh yeah,
I think the horse collar is kind of yeah.
Right, I was saying the horse collar is an easy one to be subjective about, and we still screw that one up. The hip drop tackle is a little more complex, I guess, in its motions. So that's my concern.
So I like the whole idea that it's like only when you roll up on your opponent's legs. I thought it was like a rugby style. Like you can't just drop your weight and that's it. It's only if you're like making them awkwardly fold over and bend in ways you don't want.
Sure.
Honestly, like you're probably right that the enforcement's not going to be consistent because I feel like the league at this point has just admitted they're going to flag flagrant looking things.
Right.
Like it doesn't matter if it meets the law in the textbook as much as it's like if that looks ugly, then the flag's coming out because we got to protect the players.
It's basketball now.
Kind of is, and it kind of sucks that it's not like codified well or codified, and like it's annoying that it's unfair because it usually results in bonuses to the offense. But at the same time, like if expectations are at least somewhat set, that's just like don't make it look terrible on TV. Then at least there's something to work with there.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I do think that for the amount of money that like is kind of like the NFL is generating, and again, when you're looking at how, like, what comes out to me is again, what gets called. I mean, I feel like once a game is like the body weight, like sack, right? The call where you can't put all your, whatever the hell that stupid rule is called.
They get that one wrong all the time too.
I say it's stupid, but I like what they're going for, and I hope, and I don't know if I've even seen it, so. This is kind of where, like, I think it's easier to kind of. We've still seen some pretty brutal hits in the NFL, right? Like, it's not like everything has been completely neutered. But I will say that there are some things that, like for example, like this hip tackle. Like, try and find a way to try and enforce it in such a way that you're not guys' knees and ankles are getting ripped up and it's something to try and avoid. Now, like with the body weight thing, I feel like it's gotten more. I feel like the calls have gotten better, in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think. Where
it's not as much as the year it was introduced. Yeah.
Sure, where everything is just like guys are kind of like refiguring out where they have to put their body weight. And I think you are able to still have the violent game of football with more controlled tackles and have a successful product.
Sure. I don't have an issue with the rules themselves. It's the enforcement and the fact that the NFL refuses to act in any way to try and improve the level of enforcement of these rules.
Sure.
Still no sky judges, or at least no obvious ones. There are people believe there's a secret sky judge half the time because there are
there is
calls, but like the fact that they're not like open about that makes it even weirder, which like gives the NFL's like, oh well, we can just kind of control it and go, oh, we don't have a sky judge, what are you talking about? Yeah, that's fucking shady. But there is technology and training and ways in order to improve the enforcement of these rules that the NFL flat out refuses to do, but they just keep adding more and more like subjective rules, and it's like, okay, well, you gotta give a little too, right?
Right. Yeah.
It is hard to officiate an NFL game. Everybody knows that. Like, don't make it harder. Like, make it easier for the refs to get it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a fair thought. I think it just shows the league priorities are more about the image of the game more so than getting the calls right for the fans who are paying super close attention, which business, I suppose.
Yeah, it comes down to money. The controversy sells just as well, if not better.
Right.
Also true, yeah.
All right. Anything else?
I think we've touched on everything so far. All the hot topics, the hot button issues.
Yeah.
Only here on Filthy Football Casuals. I expect it not to be anywhere else.
It was a fun few days of free agency, and those things have slowed down already, I think. But there's a handful of names out there, and Raiders got a lot of money left to spend. I don't know about everybody else, but should be fun a couple more weeks as this all wraps up and we start looking ahead to the draft. It's going to be here before we fucking know it.
Oh, that's going to be fun.
Yeah.
As always. Yeah, that'll be good. No, I think that sums it up right there.
All right, then I guess let's just call it a wrap. Trivia? No, I got nothing. I'm slagging.
I got the
It's just
book.
tradition to throw it around at this point.
Outside of the book, I've got nothing.
Yeah.
It's I've talked Steelers enough. We don't need. We'll pick something out of the book.
Yeah, I'll start watching daytime TV again. I'll steal some shit from
Yeah,
Good Morning ESPN.
let's go.
All right, this has been good. Till next week. Catch you all later.
We'll see ya.